Hi, first grade families. I'm just going to talk to you about this week's assignments. I'm first going to make my screen be a little bigger. So things are a little different this week. This is our green week when we have everybody at school. However, I'm still sending this out on Seesaw every day for a couple kids at home. And if your child is absent, they can still do the work from home. Or for any other reason we might need it. But let me go over. I'm going to be using using this as a guide for me at school, but we do have some new things. So the first thing that's new, if you look, there is a language grammar review, and I'm going to click on it. And every day it's going to be different questions. So you can see for Monday that it says number 1, number 2, number 4. So that means if you were doing this at home, a parent or a caregiver could look and read what they want you to do on number 1. And basically on number 1, it's just using prepositions. So you're going to ask your first grader, where do you see this beaver? And we want them to use the words behind, or if it was a different picture, beside, or under, or over. We want them to use those preposition words that tell where. On number 2, you can see that number 2 says what's wrong or missing, and they give you some guided questions to talk about the picture. You're just talking about the picture. What's wrong with this picture? What's missing? Could this happen? And it's just getting them to notice the details here. And I really like number 4 because it has 3 action words. And so I'm starting to use that term action word verb that we use in first grade, but it's also following directions and doing a sequence of steps. So we want them, for example, there are 3 step directions. Listen while I say the words, and you want them to do those actions in a sequence right after another, and see if they can remember that sequence and follow those directions. So this is for Monday. And then on the Tuesday classroom, there will be 3 new ones, and so on and so on. So this is something new. We're going to be doing this at school, but you can also do it at home, and they always give you the guided questions. So let's go back to our classroom. Something else, the weekly reading story. We're going to be starting looking at our book. And it's going to be the same story all week. So if we touch on this weekly story, you can see that it's Nat and Sam. We're starting to work on that short A sound. And I'm hoping at home you would look at this every day. And it's the same for everything else. I know that things are very repetitive. And it's so easy to say, oh, we did that yesterday. Let's just get that and go on. But that's the whole point. In first grade, it is a lot of repetitive things that we do. We want them to be able to learn how to do them on their own. So we read the same story every day. Maybe by the end of the week, your first grader can read it to you, and you don't have to read it first and do an echo. So that is something to look at every day. So something else that I've noticed, let's go back to the OG. So OG comes to you in your light bulb every day. But it is so important that in that OG lesson, these are the skills that we work on. It's 9, 10 pages that you go through. And I know, like I just said, I know it's repetitive, but there's a reason for that. We want the students to do these every day, even if they say, oh, I just did that yesterday, or I know this. You do it again with them. Every day we do our Bee Checker cards here at school. Every day we go through these ear games. This phonemic awareness is so important for learning to read. It might seem like nothing. You might think it's just rhyming words, but this is so important. Doing this blending drill is so important. So please, parents, if you're at home, it's important not to skip these slides on the Seesaw activity and just get to that lesson that they have to write. Please make sure you're guiding your child into doing these at home because that's part of our learning. Let's go back to our first grade. I did something else. We count every day. So I put a new counting thing here. It's just 1 to 120 counting by ones. And then I put a new counting thing, days of school. I used to have tally marks here, and I put counting by fives. So we want kids to be able to count from 1 to 120 on their own. We want kids to know how to count by fives. Counting by fives helps us later when we do money and we need to count nickels and we need to count by fives. Okay, so these two things are important to touch on too. Everything else should be the same. Still doing the fluency, the little story to read. Everything else looks the same, but I did add a couple new things. So we have a couple more things to do. Always make sure you hit the daily check-in. I think everyone's getting better at finding the little link that's always over here in the corner. Remember, you have to hit the little link to open this. And you might have to hit the link and then you might have to hit a link again, but that lets you click on all of these pictures. So this is the overview, and remember the light bulb right here means you're going to find that daily activity in the light bulb. And I'll probably have the students draw a picture to go with their weekly story and do a little activity with it. So, and then break time, I always put, I think for this week, I'm going to keep it all music so they can explore Miss Palma's music room. Those are all first grade skills in music. So this is a lot of extras here. This is our main learning in these boxes, but then you have extras counting. These are things that they could do if you're at work during the day or on the weekend or on a rainy day. On Wednesdays when they're at home learning. There's a lot of things, and the boys and girls, we look at this here at school, so they're getting really good at navigating themselves on this, but encourage them to click on these extras to do counting and things just like at school. If you have any questions, please let me know, and reach out on Seesaw. Thanks a lot.